Hey y'all, welcome to Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica. I'm your host, Jessica Jones. We'll be peering through the veil to shed light on mysterious cases from all over the world. We invite you to join us on this magnificent journey through space and time to try to unravel these mysteries. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, share this out, and subscribe to Texas Front Porch and to my channel, The Cryptid Huntress, on YouTube. You can find us on Odyssey Radio and iHeartRadio and can contact us at Texas Front Porch on Facebook or email us at paracryptidencounters@gmail.com and oracleofthesouth@gmail.com. You can reach us through text at 972-559-0988. If you'd like to support us in what we do here, our super chats are open. Thanks and enjoy the show. Hey y'all, thanks for being here. Welcome to Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica. I am your host, Jessica. I have a great show for y'all tonight. I decided to remote view the orbs that fly over crop circles and make crop circles. Okay, so it's a little crazy, and trust me, the remote viewing was actually really awesome and phenomenal, and it was something I've just been really interested in. And I actually had to seek some advice from a good friend of mine who happens to be a surprise guest tonight. I have Barry Littleton in the house, you guys, to join us tonight to talk about the orbs that make crop circles. So before I bring Barry up, I am going to bring up my co-host tonight from Texas Front Porch and Brunch with Bigfoot. I've got Bigfoot Michigan Rob here tonight. Hey, Rob.
Hello, Jessica. How are you? Thanks for having me on this Friday evening. Hello to everybody in chat.
Hey, Rob. Thank you so much for being here. I know you are dying to talk about some orbs tonight, right?
Yeah, well, yes, I am. First of all, I'm dying to make sure my internet connection is working because, yesterday on Brunch with Bigfoot, I was talking with Kristen, and all of a sudden, boom, the cable guys decided to shut me off because they redid the lines. So that's my first priority. So am I coming through good?
Loud and clear. You're looking great.
Good.
Yes.
So thank you. Yeah, no, actually,
wonderful co-host.
Thank you. I was just looking forward to today because I don't know a lot about the crop circles. We've all heard about orbs, and when you told me Barry would be coming on kind of as the we hate that word expert, but as the guy that can fill us in.
He's our specialist.
The specialist. There you go. So I like that word, specialist. So I said, yeah, I'll come on and get an education.
Yeah. Well, Barry actually is the person who suggested that I do this target. And so I did it. It's something that he's made a lot of videos about and has really done a lot of research on. And in my experience as a Bigfoot and paranormal field researcher, I have experienced so many orbs. I mean, the first ghost that I ever saw was an orb floating around with it looked like ribbons coming off of it and floating everywhere. So, and when we're in the field doing Bigfoot research and just being out in the woods, we oftentimes have orbs that show up that are huge. They look like the moon sometimes, and then they'll move and float down behind the trees. And we have orbs that will change formations and turn into triangles. And it's almost like they have a consciousness to them, Rob. Yeah. And it can be a little unnerving at times. And of course, we also have the orbs, like in the typical ghost pictures, in haunted houses and things like that. There's oftentimes orbs, and a lot of times they have faces in the middle of them. Okay, so lots of different types.
Yeah,
okay?
I mean, it seems like an orb can appear just about anywhere, any type of circumstance. It can be in a haunted house. It could be out in the field. It could be in the woods. It can be over these crops. We could just see it in your house. I mean, so you're not free. You're not safe, right? You can find them anywhere.
You can find them anywhere. That's right. Well, there happens to be a whole lot of them in England and over in Europe. They have more crop circles there than just about anywhere, I believe. And so without further ado, I think we should go ahead and bring up Barry tonight to join our conversation because Barry has a lot of input, and he is an amazing paranormal researcher and knowledgeable in so many things. So let's bring up Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Greetings. How you doing, Jessica? Greetings, Ralph.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. A little bit of heat on me there.
Me too.
I'll be glad to talk about it, though, and I think it'll be really taking us down the rabbit hole here. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm all about the rabbit hole. Yeah. And you know, and with my data, I had 3 different targets that I did regarding these orbs, because honestly, a lot of times when I remote view things, I don't have the capacity to even know what I'm looking at. Sometimes it's hard to describe it when I don't know what these things are actually composed of, and I'm trying to figure it out. And words are coming out, and I'm writing these things down. I'm not really sure even what it means. And so it's so wonderful to have you to help me try to figure all this out, because without you here, Barry, I think Rob and I, it might become kind of all over the place, you know, but you're going to be able to kind of glue it all together for us tonight. So
I'm favorites for the guy going all over the place.
Yeah. Hey, Barry, don't feel, I'm always all over the place. It doesn't matter. Even when I know what I'm talking about.
Me too. Me too. It's going to be fun. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing that I wanted to look at was just exactly what these orbs are, because, you know, I've seen so many orbs. I wanted to kind of hone in on specifically the orbs that are making the crop circles and have been seen making the crop circles. And, you know, some of them look like balls of light, and others of them look like they're metallic and they look solid. And so I decided to kind of look into them. And now I do have a couple of pictures of orbs that were seen making crop circles that people have actually taken pictures of. And I had some videos that I posted on social media today and throughout the week of these orbs. So that one looks kind of metallic a little bit.
Yeah,
okay.
It does.
Yeah, that's one of them. Okay, so the first target that I did was to describe the makeup and content of the orbs seen over crop circles. And with knowing what I know, I'm pretty sure, you know, with all the variety of orbs, I figured there probably are different types of these orbs doing this. Now, but I wanted to get an idea, are these organic or are they man-made? Are they something that came naturally, or are they alien, you know? Or is it something like our government has concocted, you know, or corporations and things like that? Because, you know, just want to look into it. So with my first target, I actually started seeing that there are at least 2 different types of orbs that are making these crop circles, Barry. Now, does that sound familiar to you? And have you heard anything about different types of orbs making these?
You know, the main that I've heard, excuse me, is actually these charged plasma balls that are rotating counterclockwise.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the video I sent you. So, I mean, but I've heard about all sorts of different types of orbs, but connected to the crop circles, only the charged plasma, high energy plasma ones. So I think it's interesting you saw that, and that shows the difference. And when you go into that, I think it'll be very interesting.
I did. Well, the first information that I started getting was that it's full of energy, a massive energy. And then the first ones that I was seeing were like controlled by something, and it seemed more electronic kind of. But then there were others that were plasma. Okay. There were some that were kind of plasma and self-propelled. And I was getting data kind of like you hear about UFOs. Okay. Like how they're propelled and things like that. But I was getting a lot of futuristic technology, of course. It's almost like it was stuff from the future, you know. It was giving me the vibes like we don't really know what our technology is capable of right now. Like our government is hiding stuff from us that there's way more advanced than they let us know. And so that's kind of what I was getting with most of these, because I was honing in on the plasma balls, and then I was honing in on some that were more electronic. Okay. That seem man-made. Okay. So that was just kind of poking around to see if what kind of, you know, what these were made of. Okay. So that was my first target. Okay, so then I went to the second target, and I was trying to find the origin of these things. Okay, like what is their origin? And it got kind of dark, you guys. It was a little bit dark. I was getting that they were made by the military. Okay, the ones that I started viewing were kind of like a space force. Now, do they have a space force in England, and are they all over the world? Do they have branches of the military like that?
As far as I know, there's something going on in about every country. Yeah. I had a quick question. No, you said when you started getting the start, was this the metal ones? Actually,
Yes,
you were.
these are the ones I started. My second target pretty much just covered it seemed more man-made in this target. Okay, so these are kind of more man-made orbs that were making the crop circles. And before we keep going, let me pull up some pictures, okay, of some crop circles for everyone to see. Now, of course, this is what I had on social media this week. Okay, there's one. And with a lot of these crop circles, you're seeing Masonic symbols and stuff in them, which I thought was kind of odd. It didn't seem very alien to me. But in like this, for instance, I thought
Yeah,
that was
that's weird.
interesting.
Yeah.
It is weird. Here, I'm sorry, I took that down a little
Yeah,
fast.
pretty.
So we'll hold it up there for a minute.
Hey, that
But we're
looks
seeing a
like that
lot of
third.
symbols.
It looks like that third eye, right? At the in the
Yeah,
peak.
it does. It does the all-seeing eye, actually.
Yeah.
But of course, we have beautiful crop circles like this, and they're very intricate as well. There's just so many different types of crop circles, and it's just like a masterpiece, or like art. It's artwork, right? Um, and some of them have messages to them, and I think a lot of them do, such as this one.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and that looks like a
Yeah.
binary code of some sort, maybe.
That's the one that's supposed to have said, I think, beware of false gods bearing gifts. And I think
Yeah.
that's what
Interesting.
that was interpreted as.
Yeah. Okay.
And I do have a quick mention to make too. And is it my understanding that with all these crop circles that are popping up, are they like just happening overnight? They're not being built slowly. It's like it's on Monday at midnight. There's nothing there. Then Tuesday morning, all of a sudden, it's a crop circle disappeared. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, yes, and that's why I kind of sit that video, because that video you see these actually 3 plasma balls going over this field, and you see the crop circle forming immediately. So that's what's kind of
Yeah.
interesting, and why I wanted to know what she saw with that, because I've heard several different things. I sense certain things about it, and when you say this, it's really interesting. So I can't wait to go into this a little bit. It'll be
Yeah.
very interesting. But
Cool.
yeah, but basically overnight, and even I think Rob, when the guys that Doug and Dave, whatever they do, that's that technique that is actually fake. I think they still get it done overnight in a few hours. So it's kind of impressive.
Okay.
But
Wow.
it has these things with the nodes are bent, and there's certain things that show that it's man-made construction. Yeah, like right there, those nodes are busted in a way that shows that these crops have been hit by 1, microwaves, and 2, also something called electron avalanche, which is where there's a high plasma that hits all the makeup of the plant, and it creates an ionization. And in that way, when looking what was scientifically done with these crop circles by Dr. Livingood, he had done a lot of research on these, a lot of experiments on them. And, he found things like, for example, this microwave that it's exposed to, and then this high energy plasma, the seeds themselves from the crop circles, those crops, they go through like dormant for a minute due to the impact and the electron avalanche, but then they go dormant for about like 4 or 5 days. And then when they actually germinate, it winds up, they harbor like 30% to 400% more biofuel. They produce 75% more nutrition per plant, and there's like 40% more production altogether.
Wow, yeah.
And they're also producing high amounts of something called, I don't want to mispronounce this, everybody, anthocyanin, ANTHOCYAMIN. It's a powerful antioxidant. So these are things here that are showing that this is a way also to combat food shortage. And some of these patterns of the more positive circles have been shown to be like possibly 0-point technology, 0-point energy and equations, things like that. Now, I found it interesting that you saw this dark thing to some of these circles. I've talked to Little Molten Hal and some others, and they had described being in some of these circles that I think maybe Masonic looking, but they were real circles as far as what they were exposed to. So they were real, but they had this negative feel inside. Everyone just been in one of those, say they get to feeling sick in one of those, as to where the other crop circles that are really the natural ones, or at least the positive ones, you feel electromagnetically charged when you're in it, or like orgone charged up. So I think that's important. see that there's actually people that go into those circles. Like, oh, I think they're gone now. It was a group called Silent Circle. They're on the internet. They go to all those circles and do tons of experiments on them. And they
Wow.
quite a bit, but I think that group is blocked.
Well, I'm glad somebody's doing some experiments on this, because I was getting that there's a lot of radiation involved. And, we always have radiation spikes whenever we have anything paranormal happen out in the field. And so it would make sense that there's radiation coming off of these things. But I was getting that there's radiation coming out of the orbs. Now I want to make a note that the blown nodes, actually, that was a picture taken by my cousin, Jesse Duke, who was on my show. He's my cousin who makes the big Bigfoots out of muscadine vines, who's been on my show before. And yes, he has a Bigfoot in front of the Georgia Bigfoot Museum, the Expedition Bigfoot that he made. But he went to England, and that last crop circle that I showed this is actually, those blown nodes came from this crop circle. And so so he actually tried to bring those blown nodes back to the United States with him, and they got confiscated at the airport. So he couldn't get them here. However, that came from Milk Hill. Okay. That was a crop circle. And there's a lot of places, a lot of crop circles at Milk Hill, apparently. But he felt like that one, it had some slight errors, he said. So it wasn't perfectly straight in some areas. So it made him feel like it had all the attributes of being authentic and alien-like, but it had some errors to it. So he thought, well, it had some elements of being man-made as well. So that was interesting, because I was picking up on kind of a combo too in my data. So yeah.
It's so interesting, because when I had talked to John Pavinko, had remote viewed the circles also, and some of those plasma balls, and he had described the portals that are near the crop circles themselves, thousands of entities trying to rush from the other side, trying to rush through this portal at once. So that's like all three of us trying to stick our heads through a mustard ketchup bottle. It'd be a trip, but when actually those that are able to squeeze through, when they emerge in this dimension, they emerge in this orb form that is a collective consciousness. There's like some type of a different rule when you do from that dimension to this one, or from that density to this one. I thought that was very interesting to hear that. And he kind of correlated that to that glowing light you see at the Ascetti Ranch, that Mount Adams. You see this light at night. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's supposed to be the dimensional portal, but he's saying the same thing, in that they're trying to all get through at once there. So that's just food for thought. So when you start talking about
interesting
positive stuff, you started feeling, I can't wait to go into that, because
I mean, because you're tapping in all the third target that I did. You're tapping in on all of that right now, or I tapped into that on my target. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Interesting.
Cool. I don't want to interrupt. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, let's talk about it. Listen, we're just freestyling it tonight, y'all. We're just going to, without Barry being here to be able to kind of put this all together, it would have been a total train wreck tonight, probably, because I honestly am not familiar with these things. So,
I want to talk about it a little bit further too. I had one quick question, Barry, that was on my mind earlier. In fact, Gene in chat just brought up something. I want to piggyback off that just really quickly. Do all of these crop circles, do they all retain their color? I mean, I know it's like the corn or the whatever the soy is that the circles are made in these fields, they flatten out, they retain their color, they don't turn brown, right? Because I would think, to me, in my mind, I'm thinking if you have these orbs that are spinning around at 5,000 miles per hour, to me that would create heat, yet these things still have their color. Certainly they're not as green as the surrounding crops that are standing, but when they're flattened out, they don't seem like they're burnt out.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, I haven't seen that really either. And as most of I've seen from the microwave, most of the heat is coming from the microwave that they're being hit by, and that causes that explosion of the node. I've seen that. You had a picture of that actually, but I still haven't seen really a discoloration of the crop itself. And obviously they're still able to be harvested because they certainly cut them down. And but it's the genes. That's a good point. Definitely. I think that when dealing with the negative that you had mentioned, on the video that I had sent you, and I'll make sure I put that up on my social media. It's on my Patreon channel. It's these plasma balls again making this crop circle, but they were stopped. The lady Patty Greer had a movie where she stopped them, and she did actually zoomed in. And when she zoomed in at this certain point, these two plasma balls, you can see a line between them, like a line of communication, and almost looks like when she zoomed in on it, like the pixelation of a TV, and it's some type of binary. So when you're saying that they're some sort of man-made and also that takes us to something else, I personally believe that those plasma balls, some of them, in some of these instances, are time travelers from our future.
Yeah.
I think at a point to where maybe humanity no longer has a body. You know, Star Trek did several episodes like that where they're talking to people that look like they're human, and all of a sudden it turns out it's a hologram, and really they're just these light beings, these bright light beings. They say, "Oh, we evolved beyond human bodies millions of years ago." So it makes you wonder, and are these some type of a marking, some type of a marking for time travelers, or are these some type of software for a hardware that's over space, like some of these sacred sites? You know, is that something that's activated from the sky? Because some of those plasma balls are seen coming down and going up.
Really?
They're not necessarily from the earth, as some have said. Anyway, I'll be quiet now because I want to hear more about what you saw.
No, well,
that time travels, certainly.
Okay, well, so that brings up a very interesting point, because I was feeling that way too, because when I say these are man-made, they could be man-made way in the future, you know, and I keep getting this futuristic feeling, like it's all very futuristic. It's something in the future, and they're man-made. So it's all kind of about your perception as far as aliens go, because a lot of people think that a lot of aliens are humans in the future. So it kind of muddies the water a little bit with all of this, because now we're like, well, there definitely there's an element to this that it's man-made, okay, but in a lot of people's minds, like grays and things that could be humans in the future are aliens. So it gets confusing, right, Barry?
Well, you know, that comes up again and again. And we have to remember there are all sorts of different containers for consciousness. And obviously the ones we're dealing with now have been modified tremendously, even not to change the subject, but dealing with Sasquatch. I mean, no matter what they are, they're obviously much better built up for this environment than us. I don't even like camping, and I need the convenience. Those cats are walking around in snow barefoot. A whole other thing going on there. But I think as far as the time aspect, it's fascinating. Even right now, if you really look in time science, there's something called the super propagation of luminal propagation of data, which is actually sending data backwards in time faster than the speed of light. And that's something they're doing right now. They use circulating light beams for that and all sorts of other things. Anybody wants to look into Dr. Ron Mallett, he's somewhat transparent, from the University of Connecticut. He's using these circulating light beams that are laser, like a laser system he has. So this is really going on. There's all sorts of time travel, time technology in the private sector we don't hear about. And it doesn't take much for them to start sending information back. So you can only imagine 100 years what they'll be able to do if we don't destroy ourselves.
Hopefully there's benevolent forces that won't let that happen. I hope. I think I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that, but who knows? Well, you never know.
Solar activity is high right now, and I think there's always been these time shifts where they're trying to shift us to nuclear war, and it comes up again and again. And I think that's happening right now, and I'm hoping that collectively through consciousness we can kind of change that timeline and stop that. You know what I mean? So anyway, sorry.
Okay. Can you guys help me straighten this out a little bit? What is a dark project? Is that a black project? Okay, I got black project. That's like a government military black thing? It's like something that's classified, right? Like the highest classification of hidden stuff. Am I right? Because that kept coming up on this target. It's a black project with our government. Okay, some of these crops. Orbs that are doing this out there. I was getting that they're like drones. Okay. And I kept seeing those robot dogs. Okay. So, you know, those robot dogs that they're seen dancing to music, and they're just so cute, and they want the general public to smile and laugh and say, "Oh, how cute those robot dogs are," but really they're made to kill us. Okay, so I was seeing that kind of a deal with some of these orbs that they have. Like some of them, when I was viewing this, I was seeing like some of the intention behind them is to make these beautiful pieces of artwork that look nice and everybody loves them. But really they have a more sinister purpose behind them for some reason. So it's almost like kind of getting the public used to these drones so that they can do something against us with them one day. Does that make sense? I know that sounds weird, but that's what I was seeing.
This takes us into something real quick. And again, I'll bring up Mount Adams again, because we've talked about this on your show before. And that is this, what I believe there's several of them on this planet, this device that this book, Keys of Enoch, would call an OR station. OR station. All right. Even got illustrations of it in here. And they look like the illustrations that you and
Tanya.
Sorry, thank you. Tanya just had a really good show with her. Great.
You did. Great show.
Really on point. But anyway, so that same thing, and also why I wanted to talk to John Vavinko was because his team had seen that thing in the mountain also. And, I got so blown away out there, I had to do a regression before I spoke out there the second time, and I was seeing this thing in my regression. So in that way, that technology is something that's scanning people. I believe it scans your soul life memories, and then it presents you something that will further your consciousness. And when I say that, it does that by producing some type of an orb, small, and those are seen out there at that place all the time, tons of them. And it only takes one that is nearly minuscule to be in your biofield to change your perception. So that's this orb technology that is still functioning in this OR station from when we were a type 1 civilization. And if you're talking about a black project, they obviously know about this stuff, and they're trying to mimic this, and they're using some type of orb technology like that. And before I shut up, dealing with, you had mentioned that some of these orbs, you see these faces in them. Friend Bill, that actually got me to come forward. He takes pictures of all that stuff through what he calls the quantum visual technique. But a lot of times when he first started showing me stuff, he showed me these pictures that are partially, these ships are partially faded out, or these orbs, and it looks like Stewie, that's a Stewie head. Who the heck is Stewie, man? I don't watch that. But he said, when I know what he's talking about now, but that's what you're talking about, the quantum hologram. And we have civilizations, what the Akashic records really are, we've talked about, which are around these makos, these black holes. The information of the universe is stored around them like a hard drive around this mako, and we can access those consciously. Okay. That's what they operate on the same wave as brain waves do, much similar. So that's very, very important when thinking about that. Any civilization that might even be out of existence can use that quantum hologram and the Akashic records to contact us through the divine field, through our minds, through the consciousness, the brain waves.
Wow.
So in that same way, when they condense their awareness into a spherical form to travel dimensions, you're seeing types of orbs too. So that's another possible origin of them. I'll shut up. Sorry.
Jeez.
Okay, Barry.
You got my head. I know. I'm just saying, just my head's reeling now, because there was something else I wanted to bring up about something. Then Barry brought up something else. I mean, this is like my head's ready to explode. I didn't want, if I can interject something really quick, Barry.
Please.
And then Justin, you can take over. I'm sorry. I just had to ask this because everything. I was following the show of this guy named John Mount. He claims to be in communication with actually ETs, right? But what he was saying though is these orbs, they actually, everyone talks about the orbs where there's a hologram, or there's a hominid looking being inside these orbs, and he says that they are actually, now he claims and makes a statement that they are actually from the future. They are us from the future, and they're coming back to our planet. He seems to find them in the woods. And yes, always, as you mentioned earlier, sometimes there's a Sasquatch appearance. So now what you said about that earlier, what Jessica made mention, and then of course you just blew my mind even further. I mean, there's some connection with all of this.
Yeah.
There's a well-known whistleblower. I won't say the name, but talking to him privately, he was just talking me to death privately. Okay, just him and I, and he started describing an experience where he saw what one of these quote unquote big Dracos with the wings and 12, 14 feet tall being sucked up into an orb the size of a tennis ball or a baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And the orb was actually their vehicle. And that would have meant it would have been actually a quantum hologram here, at least. And I think that's making it really heavy, whatever it is we're dealing with here. That whole concept is like, man.
Well, Barry, you and I cannot do a show about orbs without discussing the orb video that you and I saw when we were at Camp Disclosure with a good friend of ours, who's been on my show, who had a video that it blew my mind. And Barry's mind as well. And we're pretty seasoned veterans with this stuff. Okay. But there was a video of someone's backyard of a camera, like a CCTV camera, that had orbs that shot past the camera, landed on the ground, and turned into aliens. And the aliens started running around, and then they eventually turned back into a ball and shot back past the camera again.
Of course, we
both saw it.
What shot the orbs down? First of all, let me just say that is the most incredible footage I've ever seen, and I can't believe it sucks that he's not being shown. Anyway, what pulled down, was that a saucer or was it a bigger orb? I'm trying to remember.
It was an orb, but I don't know where they came from. But they were orbs.
Orbs turned into grays, right? I remember seeing that, and I mean, and those were definitely biological grays.
Yes,
or whatever. They looked like grays to me, and they were little and they were pretty quick. I wouldn't want those on my property. Sorry, I mean, that really blew me away. I still talk about that to anybody who listened. That's
I'm all ears, man.
Yeah, I believe that was something that someone from MUFON had, and so it's not up to this person who has a video to release it. So, but we have seen it, and so I've seen some weird stuff, but that topped the list. That was definitely one of the tops on my list of the weird stuff I've ever seen. And Barry, you too, right? but back to the orbs, the ones that I was seeing were, I'm not going to say they were all like evil or anything like that. It was just man-made. Okay. We're just going to say they were more man-made. The ones that I was kind of, looking at when I was remote viewing these particular orbs. Okay. Definitely had something to do with our government, and the governments all over the world are creating some of these things. And yes, it could be in the future in timeline, things are crossed, and, and people could consider them alien, but it's really humans in the future. I know that sounds crazy, y'all, but that's what I was picking up on. Okay. So
that's what I wanted to look at it. That's what I've been always told about things. They were from the future. Sorry. Oh, wow.
They're from the future. That's what I got. It's very futuristic. Absolutely. Wow. And so, but I also knew that there are also organic types, right, Barry? Like the ones that are the original orbs that make crop circles, the ones that are like plasma, because I picked up on those in the first target. And so I wanted to explore those a little bit more. Okay. Because those seemed a little more pure and seemed, not man-made. Okay. And so I wanted to see where they came from. I wanted to see what they were made of. And it was really Barry that was wanting to look into this. And these are the ones that you were actually wanting to look into to start off with, right, Barry?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are actually balls of plasma. It's like a plasma ball, which is a container of like a soul or like a consciousness. There's something to do with frequency, energy, and vibration. Okay. Just like they say this entire universe is made of the frequency, the energy, the vibration. It was just an essence. Okay. These things are natural. And I'm not going to lie, I got very emotional when I did this target. There was something that I tapped into that was a higher source of energy, a higher consciousness, that I have actually remote viewed one other thing before that was similar to this. And it had something to do with off planet, like, well, I wouldn't say off planet, but not even otherworldly. It was like the fabric of the universe kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, it was similar to that. It was a very high frequency. So whatever these things are, it was almost like a divine energy. Okay. That these things were. And I just kept getting over and over again, just a frequency, source energy. Okay. And they move, it was almost heavenly. Okay. If you want to put it that way. And I actually sketched out something that looks like a wormhole. Okay. So these things are kind of coming through wormholes of some sort, and there's dimensional travel, there's portals that they're coming through, and they said they started communicating with me actually during this target. And whoa, okay, my body just got really hot. Okay, literally just now. I feel like I'm about to pass out. It was I got very emotional, and my body is having a reaction right now just talking about it, which is kind of weird. But it was they said they had a message for humanity. Okay, and it was don't give up. Don't give up. Okay, is what they were saying. And they were yeah, they said that we need to work as a team, and they were talking about light codes and seeding light and light warriors and all this kind of stuff. And it was very much like they were talking to me. You know, this consciousness was like talking to me, and during this target, and they said thank you. They were saying thank you for the teamwork that we're doing. Okay. But it had something to do with that. It was a very much higher frequency, these crop circles, and they're giving us messages. These orbs, I mean, not the crop circles, but the orbs, they are giving messages to humanity.
Oh, great. Those are the ones. Those are ones that are given the more than 30% of biofuel, more than 75% nutrition per plant. And that becomes as an effect of this high energy plasma when it actually hits the plant itself. That electron avalanche is, like I said, again, it's just the plasma is hitting the electrons, bombarding them, and it creates this ionization. And that's doing something to the crops. So that is something that's being told right there, that about, how we can have more food and have more resistant genetics, because it rearranges the whole structure of the plant itself. And when you keep going with that, it's showing us something, along with the symbols that are coming in. Some of those, like I said, 0-point energy. Some of these things have been broken down by scientists. There's one that has something to do with, oh goodness, it's the decimal point on it's very, I'm not good with math, but it's very mathematics. So all these things that are coming forward, so often people say we don't get help here. And how come they just let us destroy ourselves? But we do. And it's so subtle. I'm just missed like that, or just drowned out in our society, or obviously, as we're seeing here, a black project put on it.
Yes.
Or some sort of time.
Yes, to make it degenerate, to degenerate that, to give it an opposite message. It's almost like a dichotomy, a duality to it. Like it's almost like they're trying to corrupt something that is so pure, and something that just stop the messages from coming through. It's just the same in any kind of paranormal, like even Bigfoot research. We've got these people that are planted in the scene to hoax, to make us real researchers look like crazy people. It's basically the same thing. It's to stop the messages from coming through to us. Mm-hmm. That's what that is.
I'll tell you, and also when dealing with this, you're describing beings that are higher beings from another frequency, source beings of some type. Mm-hmm. When you described that, I have had experience with beings that were non-corporeal, but to me, they looked like plasma, silver type of plasma. And they gave me a name, was Melchizedek. And I've seen that in many books, that name, and it makes me wondering exactly where this goes, who these beings were, but they're helping the earth and helping us. I think it's really a beautiful thing. I can actually see you getting emotional when you're talking about it. And that's, that's that divine energy. I've been around some non-humans that made me feel like there was some type of a love vibration coming off them. The only way I can describe it is what the gurus called Shakti Pat. When the guru touches you and you have a Kundalini release and all your chakras are touching. Being in the presence of some of them, I don't know if it's their biofield or their aura, it does something. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
It happened today too. My body has when I started remote viewing this, I did get very hot. I could feel the chakras moving and everything. It really did. I tapped into that. It's almost like a divine energy. Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
That's okay. It just brings back to, I'm starting to think now about in the past, like we're talking about divine energy and talking about that we're doing well. Certain groups perhaps are doing well versus others. And if you recall, I forget. I'm sorry. The year skips me, but it was with the Mueller project where there was like 10 ICBM nuclear missile warheads.
I don't know. I wrote down 1985 in my data today. Maybe it
Okay,
was
it might have been.
1985.
Oh, okay, so
It's
I'm ahead of
actually
you
in my
already.
data, so I don't know. I don't know why I wrote
Where
that down, but maybe that's your
we're a
answer.
bunch of that was it. We're a bunch of
Yeah.
orbs. Though there was orbs present, and it threw those 10 missiles offline where they couldn't be launched.
Oh, that's
Now,
right.
I don't know the story behind that. Whether I'm not saying that they were going to be used, but we don't know what was that story. And there was orbs, a multitude of orbs, or some even said UFOs were in the
Yeah.
area and threw those missiles offline. Divine
Yeah.
intervention, perhaps.
Divine intervention. Yeah.
I used to always be interested in that. Like, for example, I'm just gonna correlate that with something else. That's cool, Rob. Thank you for saying that. There was that deal, the Zimbabwe children, that incident. I talked to one or two.
Yes.
They're like in their late 30s now, but it's interesting when I had heard, actually it was Ed Dames or somebody had did a target on that and on them, and who was it that is actually behind contacting those children as well? And it turns out he was saying it's the same people that were doing the orbs you're talking about, and the ships that were triggering or stopping the nuclear codes, the same beings. And he was saying that they were actually humans that are Earth humans that were raised in another galaxy and then have come back here kind of to help with that. And every time that they use this technology to intervene, you see things like what appeared like plasma balls, such example of that meteor that hit Russia. You remember there's something that impacted before it split it, before it impacted. And they're saying that's this technology that these humans have that were raised off world. It's really interesting when you think about that. It reminds me of Gary Seven from the original Star Trek. It's just going geek on y'all. But anyway, all this must tie together. That's just fascinating. Wow.
It must. It's so wild how many orbs we have. And, and anytime that there's any kind of a war, or it seems like someone had sent me a message that there was an orb flying over the Ukraine when they were having bombings and stuff not too long ago. And so anytime there's any kind of upheaval or any kind of military action, a lot of times there's orbs flying overhead. So I don't know. It's got to be some intervention. Now, the message that I got was, we are here. We're here. And so, maybe it's the angels, maybe that's what we consider angels.
Would you say they're angels? Would you say they're angelic? I just raised my hand to ask you that. Y'all cool.
Yes, I actually wrote down angels is in my data. It's angel. It's what we consider angels. They are here. And that's basically how they give us messages, are through these crop circles, the good ones. Now we have to use our discernment as to what's from them and what's from the corrupted version. Okay.
Right.
Because there's a lot of that. And I do believe I did see crop circles that were like the Microsoft logo and stuff. So there's obviously technology that people have to make these crop circles that is not divine. Okay. And it's probably not bad, it's just corporate, or something. But there are also more sinister orbs that are making these things as well. But yeah, they said what I was relayed was, we are here. Don't give up, and thank you. Okay, and
cool message.
Yeah. They, and honestly, this is going to sound kind of weird to a lot of people, but they know that there's a lot of people that want to go home right now and that don't want to be here. And I believe they're referring to star seeds. Okay. But don't, we gotta hold it down, everybody, because they're here to help. So, all my starseed friends out there, y'all hold it down. We got jobs to do. Okay. And that was the message I got. And I'm actually getting sweaty again talking about that. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that,
was
it's interesting, right?
I'm a little bit flabbergasted, because that's what I was, it combines everything I was asking with the time travel, with the higher beings, all these things, with what the negative. I mean, it's all encompassed in what you just said.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty heavy.
Interesting. It is, right? I mean, I didn't know where this show was going tonight because I had so much weird information and all this stuff that I didn't even know how to bring it out. But it's also very cohesive now. And I, Barry, thank you for pulling it all together for us. I mean, we still got about 7 minutes, so we still got some time to talk, y'all. but yeah, it's
very positive, very reassuring, because this planet is in big trouble. This place is in big trouble. It's no more time for BS and all the stuff we're seeing going on. It's stuff like this that is needed, needs to be exposed. Yes. This message is just like that. And since we know this is working on a conscious level, like I said again, the brain waves level, that's really what this is, because the creator works through in a brainwaves type of way. And we have the creative principle within us. So it means we can tap into this stuff. It's not a joke, especially once you can shut down your internal dialogue and kind of, So a question to both of you.
Yeah.
I can't help but ask, where do you think Sasquatch is tied into this at?
That's a good question.
That's one of the $1 million questions, and there's many, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Well, I asked. I think I can't remember if I asked Ron Moorhead this past weekend, and probably Daryl as well. Daryl Neese on my team. They were both on my show at Spaced Out Radio, and I asked, well, what do you think that Bigfoot Sasquatch is here to teach us? Like, we come here to learn from like a learning school, and the answer was a lot of it is. I think it was Ron Moorhead that I asked that, by the way, and it's kind of to raise the consciousness of our planet. Okay, we need people to wake up, and right now everything is being shown to us. Okay, 2020 was the year of sight, and this was when the veil got a lot thinner and it was lifted, and we started seeing people for who they are. We started getting more UFO sightings. We started getting more Sasquatch sightings, cryptids, flying dinosaurs. Okay. I've done shows about all of this. Okay. And it's just kind of, I think we're kind of covering all the bases, you guys, as to what people are seeing and what we're experiencing right now. And I think this show is getting a little cutting edge, y'all. I'm loving this. Okay. we're right here on the pulse of what's going on. Yeah. So I appreciate everybody taking this ride with me on this show, man.
Oh yeah. This is an awesome fun show.
Yeah.
And my conjecture, what I would think, I had a Sasquatch encounter 4 years ago, and I was convinced it was flesh and blood, but then I thought that maybe it was a demon, right? And we won't get into that, but that was 4 years ago. That was my thought process. And now I am more of the opinion that they're a flesh and blood creature, but I think that certainly, I do not think that they were beamed down from aircraft or from alien aircraft. But in regards to portals and Sasquatch appearing, I'm kind of not too far from thinking that perhaps these orbs are opening portals in which these things can come through or disappear so quickly. I have other theories as why they.
That was in my data, Rob.
See them. So, that's 2 for 2 today, right? But I think that. I today am a person that says I believe if anything is possible, right? I have an open mind to that. And I think that when we all talk about our consciousness, I would think that if we just got 40% of more people that tapped into that consciousness in their mind, and I'm talking big business corporations, I think the people that are pulling strings in our country and in the world, I think we would get closer to harmony, because right now this world it's not a good place to be in. I mean, yes, I love living here. I'm alive. We're on the planet, but you know what I'm saying, though. There's more corruption out there and negativity it pulls the whole world apart. We shouldn't have all these wars. We shouldn't have famine. We shouldn't have things going on today. We're supposed to be the greatest country in the world, and the world itself as an entity shouldn't have any of these things. And I think that people have to get together with their conscious mind, right? And I'm more into that now since I met Jessica, and even prior to that, I'm getting more in tune to that. So thank you for all that, Jessica. And this is a great show.
Well, that's the whole point of doing these shows, right? To waken up the consciousness.
Rob, did you get mind speak from Sasquatch when you had the encounter? Anything like that?
Well, I was doing a show, Brunch with Bigfoot Mr. Rob. We had Robin McCray on. Robin speaks with Sasquatch, and she was on my show. I never met Robin. Robin and I didn't even tell her my story. She did not even know I had an encounter, right? During our show, about 20 minutes in the show, she floored me. She goes, "Hey, Rob Delano's been trying to get in touch with you the last several years." I go, "Who the hell's Delano?" She goes, "That's the Sasquatch you saw in the forest in Cadillac, Michigan. He meant you no harm. You were around where his family was, and they just wanted you to get away from the area." Because this thing growled and screamed. It vocalized. This is broad daylight. I seen it. It vocalized at me, and it looked like a kid with an older person with Down syndrome, but it turned into a devil, a demon looking face, and dropped his jaw and everything. Scared the Jesus out of me. My girlfriend fell off the boat. Long story short, yeah, it was terrifying. So I always thought Sasquatch was something that I didn't like until that's what put me on this path I'm on today, to be honest with you.
Hey, before we go any further, you guys, would you guys like to take this on to the next? We'll do another 30 minutes. We'll take a break, and then we'll continue this conversation. I mean, I think this is worth talking about some more if you guys are down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are y'all okay with that?
Yeah,
are you
down.
okay, Rob?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Well, let's continue this conversation on the other side of the break. We're gonna we've got about a minute left. We're gonna have to say goodbye to our iHeart and Odyssey radio listeners right now. And if you guys want to continue the conversation with us, you guys just go over to Texas Front Porch on YouTube or the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube, and you guys be sure to subscribe to our channels, and of course Bigfoot Michigan Rob's YouTube channel and Barry Littleton's YouTube channel. You guys follow us on social media, and be sure to check out Texas Front Porch tonight at midnight Central Time. That's 1 o'clock my time here in the East Coast. They are going to be confronting a demon, he just said, so at the Hell House, I believe, right?
Haunted Hell House, yes. In fact, they're with Rocky and Ron, who are with Odyssey Radio that carries us.
That's right. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a short break, and Barry and Rob and I will be back in about 5 minutes. So you guys stay tuned, okay? And we will see you in just a few minutes. All right.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. 2-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Hey, y'all. So we
Hello.
are back. And thank you guys for joining us and staying with us for the second portion of our show tonight. We just had such a cool conversation with the wonderful Barry Littleton. I'm going to bring Barry back up. Hey, we had some.
Greetings.
Is it me, Barry, or Jessica? Are you there? Did she freeze up on us?
I hear you, Rob. I can't see her. She's frozen.
Can you hear me?
There
You
she's
guys
back.
hear me?
Now
I'm back.
got you
I hope
now.
I hope my face wasn't looking too crazy. Sorry, y'all. My internet
Yeah,
does it sometimes.
you're all right. I'll tell you.
Oh my
after
God.
the
It's
show.
always when I have like the ugliest expression on my face. So it happens. It happens. Steve Wolf, I want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts here with the crew at Texas Front Porch for this wonderful super chat. You are really nice, and that's awesome.
Thanks, buddy.
So thank you. Yes. Thank you. So when we left the first hour, Rob, you were talking about your experience when you had your encounter with the Sasquatch. So do you want to finish your story about that?
Yeah, I can. We were just getting to the part where Barry had asked me, had I ever mind spoke with Sasquatch, and I thought that was a great question. Because the answer to the question is no. But when I was doing my show couple months ago with Robin McCrae, she's a field researcher with Sasquatch, and she speaks with these things telepathically, or mind speaks. And during the middle of the show, Robin said, "Hey," kind of interrupted the show briefly and said, "Hey, Rob, Delano says hi." I'm like, who the heck's Delano? Well, it's the Sasquatch you saw 4 years ago when you were fishing Lake Cadillac, the one that scared you. Your girlfriend fell out of the boat. Now, mind you, everybody, I never told Robin about my encounter. Sure, could she have seen my encounter? I've been on many shows. I've told my encounter story many times. So most people have heard it. But there was things, though, during the interview that she told me that I never told anybody. I mean, not even text, or not even the people I hang out with on a daily basis, right? And that's what really floored me. And I'm like, holy. So apparently this Sasquatch has been trying to contact me, and he says I'm not letting it in for some reason. Now, I would know that because I've never felt any on a conscious level, anything trying to talk to me, other than myself inside my own head. But so yeah, I thought that was so I'm definitely going back there. In fact, Robin's going to be coming to Michigan here sometime soon, and I'm going to hook up with her. We're going to go back to that area and see if I can hook up with this thing, or at least maybe try to talk to it. I guess we all can have that ability. It's just a matter of programming your mind. I don't know what it is. Meditation, however you do this, I don't know, but I'm going to try to find out how to do it.
Tapping into that frequency, apparently.
Yeah.
When I had that encounter, although I didn't see the individual, and as was said on your show several weeks ago, that one gentleman, he asked somebody, he said, "How do you know it was Sasquatch?" I don't technically know it was, but I'll tell you, if not, it was putting up a pretty good front.
Yeah.
I found the telepathy, the telethought that came from whatever this was, a bit overwhelming. It was a much stronger telepath than I. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And all I can say is, whatever it wasn't a monkey man. I promise you that. It wasn't Roddy McDowell.
The monkey. The monkey man. That's
those Cornelius.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think that if you were to go back and confront that being that you encountered that day, do you think that would bring you some closure to everything that happened, Rob?
You know what? I think I have closure today. To be honest, I have kind of closed it. I will never say I closed that chapter of my life, because it's it was, looking back on it, it was terrifying. It was scared. And a lot of people know the after story about my girlfriend had passed away 2 months later. So that's what really soured it for me.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And so in that regard, I have closure with her not being with me, right? That's in the past. Things happen for a reason. I thought it was Sasquatch that did it for a very long time. And had I gone back there a week later, I probably would have went with hand grenades and the shotgun and the bazooka and blew up the whole forest the way I was.
Right.
But today I'm not like that. I'm cool with that today. As far as though, I'd like to tap into this. I believe that if it's trying to contact me, I'd like to contact it. And I like to have the closure with that, because when someone tells me something that they should know, that just blew my mind away. And I want to find out how that happened. I think we all would if someone, because I'll be honest with you, I never believed that people could do what she did. And I swear I never told, she said things to me that nobody knew about me, which is what made me 100% believer in this. So yes.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to go back and talk to it if I can.
Interesting. Yeah, Robin's amazing. She actually spoke at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference when I spoke there a couple months ago, and I actually got to meet her in person for the first time. And yeah, a lot of people are very psychically switched on humans and tuned in to this stuff, and that's why it was so important for the head of my Bigfooting team to teach our whole team remote viewing, because the more people that you have on a team that can do that together and are psychic and psychically switched on, and we're all psychic, you guys, everybody's psychic, but it's a matter of learning those skills and learning how to use them and how to apply them. That makes it very powerful, very powerful. And so hopefully we're opening up some minds and encouraging some people to get, tap into their psychic abilities just by doing this show, hopefully.
And I do, Jessica, I do have a quick question on that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, how a lot of times you can always anticipate what someone's going to say? Like I might be able to anticipate what you're going to say, or Barry, or my brother, my mom, and you just know what they're going to say without even, then they say it. Is that like a form of that we don't know? I mean, it's just because it happens so frequently, right? With, I think, a lot of people. Is that a small indication that, that's a part of it right there?
Yes,
yeah, for
it's
sure.
not even a spoken word. You just know.
It's a deep knowing. It's the deep knowing. It's the going with your gut. Yeah.
Call, and then they call before they had caller ID.
That phone was about to ring, right?
Let me say, real quick, slide this in. I don't think what you said is at all unreasonable about what you said about your ex-girlfriend. I mean, because I'm a firm believer that they hit us with some type of, I don't know if it's infrasound, but something similar to that. And I mean, they can do it to varying degrees. And something happened to me, like when this thing was sounding like an owl behind me. It was so loud, Rob, that the second time, and it was deliberately disturbed, like it was a humanoid trying to mess up this call. And I'll tell you, if I had hair on the back of my neck, it stood up definitely. And the next guy next to me, it was so weird when we heard this thing. So I'm convinced that it hit us with something and almost tagged us. And I wouldn't. So when you say you heard it screaming like that and they scared you, like how much is that scaring? I don't think it's unreasonable to say that to think that something like that could have happened. Because just if the sounds I was hearing, man, on top of the owls and all that, I thought it was. I'm sorry, I know people don't like it, but I thought it was disconcerting, man. I did.
Well, no, I hear you too, Barry. And I got to say, I edited a lot. The story's a 20-minute story if I get growing on it. But I will say this. I always hit with some sort of infrasound, or it was like when it yelled and roared, it was such a guttural. I felt a vibration and almost like a wake. I was on a boat 90 feet from shore. A wake almost appeared to be created in the lake.
Wow.
I felt something hit me. Wow. I stumbled backwards, and my vision turned from color to like black and white. It kind of not like a grainy film. And my girlfriend, she's like 105 pounds at the time. She flipped off of the boat, and I went to get her out of the boat, or excuse me, into the boat. But I was paralyzed. I couldn't turn to the right. I could not move at all. And I had to keep shaking my head. Then I snapped out of it, got my clear vision back. I got her into the boat. But the scariest part of this whole story, man, was when I looked to the shoreline, it's gone. I don't know if it's swimming after me, walking on the bottom of the water, the lake. And I just, boom, got the hell out of there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's intense. That's an intense description. That's pretty intense.
Rob actually saw it open its mouth and scream.
Yeah, no, man.
He actually watched it.
I seen the whole thing. You could drop a bowling ball in that, like Pac-Man. I swear that's how big it was.
I heard them out there at that place. I'd heard them like we're just off the property, and they start howling, like screaming. One of them screaming from the mountain, like the mountain range just over here. There's another one starts screaming from the sleeping lady over here. We're talking about miles and miles. And then there's a third one screaming from behind the property, the back 40. These things were so loud that it was completely disconcerting, and people started running out of their cabins going, "What is that? What is that?" And then this guy was Peter O'Toole's youngest son, Larkin O'Toole, the actor, Larkin O'Toole. He runs out of his cabin with his equipment, trying to record it. And as soon as he runs out with that, all three of them stopped, just like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
and let's say Barry Littleton lost his mind out there, and I just started Jack Nicholson screaming out there.
Yeah,
you couldn't have heard me at the end of that property, let alone between the mountain ranges. What kind of a box is that? What kind of a chest capacity is that? That's really a trip. So I can only imagine what you're saying. It could be just like that. If they anything that could do that, Anyway, I always stand in absolute amazement of what these beings actually are. And I'm almost like calling them manifested beings. It's easier.
Yeah, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
It seems like I can manifest something at will sometimes, especially at night. And I stopped. I had to stop watching certain programs because I would be so intent into it that I would see these things at night. I've seen ghosts. I've seen everything. I've seen ghosts at a young age. But the Bigfoot thing, but that really, I've seen a lot of weird things the last 4 years. It's a whole other show.
You're open to it now, though, Rob. You've had that experience. Now you're on that frequency. Now we have a really good question from Hilton, who's in the live chat tonight. He said, for someone like myself who isn't gifted or sensitive to communication, what would be a minimum sign I would look out for? And I'm assuming that's in a Bigfooting kind of sense. What would you say, Barry? For someone who doesn't feel like they're very sensitive to this kind of stuff.
I'll say this, that Bigfoot or Sasquatch, excuse me, is a being, as this was taught to me, is so observant of every minuscule part of its environment. Sometimes it will change something very subtle to see if you have the heightened awareness to catch it. So I would say
Oh,
observe
yeah.
your environment a lot. Like for me, when I had this rock put on my doorstep, and I thought somebody's playing a joke on me, but I find out this is some type of a communication. And later the next year, I went and put a leaf with these eyes and a like a mouth on it, and set that at the same place. And it seemed like nothing happened for a couple of days. And then the conference was over. I took this thing and crumbled up, let it blow away because I looked like an idiot. And a few days later, there's these little subtle signs, like little pine cones put against like one of those rocks you would skipping rock, but it's jammed in the dirt. I mean, a way I couldn't have done that. It would have broken your fingernail or something. You know what I mean? Like, what is this? And it led me back to the back of this cabin to where I had some type of an experience with something that, look, all I can tell you is it stopped my world. It was a squirrel that comes through this tree making a sound I've never heard, a baby squirrel. It's connected to these structures. And when this was over, all I can tell you is I'm sitting here looking at this thing when it's gone, thinking, did I just encounter the shapeshifter? What the hell just happened? And I'm not a young man, so I thought I was at a point to where things that just stopped my world were past me, but not apparently, and whatever, so I don't know what to say about them, but I didn't believe, I tend to think more they were probably more animalistic, but there's something else going on with some of them. And then when I started hearing they could be part trees, they could be symbiotically merged with trees and shapeshift not just animals, but into actually tree stumps.
Yeah.
And, we start going back to like ancient Africans and ancient Native Americans and what real shape shifting was supposed to be. It's a technique done through the dream body. Okay. And when you can actually put your cognitive awareness into the dream body and perceive through that, and then you can actually change that. It doesn't conform to the same physical laws of this body. So one of them would be shape, flight, all these things you can do in the dream body. If you can control that and manifest it through consciousness, that's the kind of thing Carl Castaneda about the end of all of his books are really about, whether or not that's up for debate, but nonetheless, that's the end function. And so that we think about that, these ancient shamans, where did they learn that? Who learned it with them? Was this something, when I went out and had my first encounter, Rob, I had just done a video on invisibility, like the shadow techniques and the light, the eyes, how we can be invisible and all this stuff. And it was a real nice video. I liked it. And then I'll go out to this place and my own stuff gets worked on me. I was getting smoked out. I couldn't catch the thing or see, I getting all these signs, but I couldn't see it. I couldn't catch it. I was being smarted all 3 years I had encounters out there. Even when I tried to set up some nice little gifting with some apples, some red ones, some green ones, and I got smoked on those.
Yeah.
They're smart, man. They're smart. They're going to outsmart us every time.
Yeah, I think too that answering maybe Hilton's question, if it was about a Sasquatch, I for one don't. I think they find you. You don't really find them. I think if you're intense to find them, you might not have as much luck. But I do think that people walk past them every day and not realize it. And I do believe what you said, Jessica. Because I was talking to this guy Robert Boston, and even Robin McRae was telling me once you have seen one, though, you are more apt to see it because your conscious level, you're on their same level. They know now when you are in a forest, and they sometimes are more apt. You might be more apt to see them because you've already had the first encounter and they know what you're all about, right? And when I was told that they knew I meant no harm, but they were not taking chances with the family, And so, but I think
that was a
if you
smart
go
thing to do.
Absolutely. And I agree, Barry. I mean, they're all around us. My brother, he went hunting about 5-6 years ago. He knows about my Bigfoot encounter. And so he's more aware when he goes in the woods and stuff like that. And so one day he lines up a deer, he shoots it, he tracks it for several 150, 60, 70 yards, however long it was. All of a sudden the trail of blood ends. And it ends at a big barrel base of a tree. and he looks down and he sees a bunch of blood on the ground. But, being that he's been a hunter for over 20 years, he knew that the deer fell there. He could see the outline where it hit, how the foliage beneath was it made an impression in the ground. But now he's looking around. He goes, where the hell did this deer go? Did somebody snatch it? So he looks, and there's no way nobody could have dragged it out of there. He'd just seen blood being dragged in either direction. Nobody in a four-wheeler came barreling in there, would have heard it. Plus, there was no tracks. There's nothing. So he is perplexed. He's looking around. Where is this deer? Because now the trail ended there. It ended. He couldn't pick up the trail of blood. So he puts his hands on his hips. He looks up, sees up the tree. He sees blood dragged all the way up the tree, about 8, 9, 10 feet. Whoa. Then stops. And there was these big branches that kind of interconnected with all the other trees around there. And then he says, I'll be damned, Rob. He's telling me the story when he got back. You think that's Sasquatch? Do you think that was a Sasquatch? Grabbed my deer, went up the tree, and then he kind of swung out of there from tree to tree. I said, I don't know if they do that, depending how big they are, because I don't know if the branches would hold them. But I tell you what, it certainly was whatever grabbed it, and it was no cougar. They couldn't do that. And in fact, where he was hunting, I don't even think there were cougars anyway. And bears don't do that, so it had to be something. It wasn't a human.
I know what does that. Dog man.
Hey, you know what? I didn't think of dog man.
Every time.
Dog man.
When I was seeing visions of spirit always communicates to me like that. You're saying that I'm seeing the first Predator movie when he was stringing those soldiers up there like that,
gosh,
up in the trees like that. And that guy Ray Crow, I know he's passed away now. And he went underneath a lot of scrutiny because he talked about these reports of like Sasquatch taking hogs, like big ones, big, huge hogs, and slamming them up against trees and breaking them and then hanging them and coming back and getting them and all this different stuff that people got mad, But what you're saying sounds like that. And it sounds like to me they may have just stashed it. And let me ask you questions. I feel bad because that person asked a question. I went so far left on a weird story. I apologize for that. Something else they could pay attention to, and I'll ask you both, what do you think this is? Something else, when these beings come around, I mean, you don't need to be clairvoyant or not. They stop everything in terms of like even the frogs of a pond stop. Everything. Humans can't do that, stop the wildlife like that. What is it about them that stops everything and makes everything go silent like the entire forest? Mm-hmm. What is that?
Yeah, that's
infrasound or something. It's got to be. It does get silent.
Silently, though, you think? I mean,
here's my Barry. For me, that's a confusing question because usually, to me, when the forest goes dead, silence, that's evil, and I don't think Sasquatch is evil necessarily. Mm-hmm. I think there's something else that does that. That's just my opinion, of course. But you're right. Every time the forest does go quiet, an eerie feeling is always, I think most people get an eerie feeling, but you can't put your finger on it. I myself don't know. Maybe Jessica, you have a thought on that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Everybody has their own experience. So,
right.
I mean, I've walked into energetic brick walls before where I could not move forward. When I was out in the field doing paranormal research, Bigfooting, we, like I always say, we started off as a Bigfoot field research team. And now I don't even know what we are anymore. We research everything because there's so much out there. It's all encompassing. And as a matter of fact, my team may or may not be out in the woods tonight, and I'm missing out, and I'm a little sad. But hey, I'm very glad to be with y'all tonight. I'm very glad to be here, though.
You say you walked into a force field? Is that what you just said?
Yes. I guess you could call it that. Yeah, I call it an energetic brick wall. Yeah.
You know what I pick up? It's very interesting. Did you ever think that maybe it was a cloaked ship? Something
could be. I didn't pick up on that. To me, it felt, I called it an energetic brick wall because there was something that prevented me from moving forward. So yeah, it could have been anything.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. And it happens pretty often. And I'm not the only one on my team that's experienced it. I mean, just about everybody that's been out there has said at some point they've hit an energetic brick wall. Yeah. To me, I got the impression that I was being told not to move forward because I was encroaching on a territory of some sort. And now doing these remote viewing shows, I have seen that we do not overstep those boundaries because we will get eaten. Okay. We will have our bodies ripped limb from limb if we go past certain kill zones. You know what I'm saying? So, so I am going to be more careful when I hit an energetic brick wall. I will turn around and go the other direction from here on out.
Do you know how discouraging some of your stories are for someone like me who's not really a wild? I haven't been out there like that since I was in the Boy Scouts. You know how long ago that was? I don't think I can even picture.
I say this with humor, like I'm making light of it. So, you know, I'm joking. I mean, I'll still move forward, but I have definitely hit a brick wall. And, you know, when you're out in the woods and it's pitch black, dark outside and you can't see right in front of your face and you hit an energetic brick wall, there's really no point in keep going forward, to be honest with you, because, you know, I try not to use a flashlight in the woods. We try not to use our headlamps as much as we can and things like that. So when you hit a brick wall and it's really dark, it's not always fun.
Did you ever RV it? The brick wall?
I have not RV'd the brick wall. No, I haven't. I have not RV'd that. I could though, but I didn't have a reason to. I didn't think about it. But now I do, right?
Yeah. Well, you have a show.
Yeah.
And about 400, 500 people are going to see it later. So.
Or more. Yeah, we'll see.
Oh yeah. Today
it wouldn't be a bad thing to look at though, actually, because that is interesting. Now, Barry, talk about this ship that a cloak ship. What do you mean by that? Like a UFO, like an alien craft?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. You know, something that would that you would like if it's cloaked, like you couldn't walk forward, it would like you're walking into it almost, walking into its defense shield. Just a thought, you know what I mean? And and I only say that because what you were saying, kind of, it's not always the same area where this barrier comes up. It moves around. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Like you said, several members of your team have experienced it. Yes. It implies that it's mobile in some way.
Yeah.
So is that something watching you all? Is that
interesting? I've never looked at it like that.
You know, I've found beings remote viewing me before. I know that's what they have been doing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a trip. You know what I mean? You get real heightened awareness. You become aware of stuff like that for seconds.
You do.
Beings are watching you, and it's like, wow, okay, is that how they catch us?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, how many times has everybody, when you're in your house and it's late at night and you're walking around to go get something out of the fridge or a glass of water, and you feel like someone's watching you, right? I mean, or just everywhere, you can feel eyes on you, you know.
And I'm so intrigued by that. I know, Jesse, I don't think you believe in this, but what about? Because I think I've heard you say this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but shadow people. You don't think shadow people are people remote viewing you, do you? You think?
Yeah, I get that so often. That question comes up on every podcast I go on, I swear. I don't know for sure. I honestly don't get that feeling. I mean, I do remote viewing. I have remote viewed many people and events and things. And, you know, yeah, sometimes you do get detected, I'm sure. And things will know that we're there. And I don't think I've ever been a shadow person, though. I don't know. I mean, that's just not something that I'm real familiar with. I mean, I am familiar with shadow people. You know, I feel like those are lower vibrational frequencies, and I don't deal with those. So, you know, I think Barry might agree with that, but I don't know. I don't believe that those are remote viewers, but someone somewhere down the line had said they are, and it absolutely could be. I mean, I don't know everything. So, and I always say I could always be wrong. So,
but if you had two astute remote viewers, and let's say they by chance were remote viewing each other, if that ever happened, you would know, right? Could you know, or you wouldn't know, or how would you even?
You wouldn't. You don't necessarily know. Okay. Yeah, not necessarily. Some people can pick up on it. It just depends.
I've had experience like when I was younger. But I saw these different types of shadows. One is I've seen the shadow man once, but the hat man, as they call him, just at the end of my street. But that was as much that. But the other was, I was trying to actually do these other techniques, and it winds up blasting my pineal gland open even more than it was. And I started seeing the shadow realm, and these shadows, two different types. One are more spherical, ones were more oval-like. And I watched one that was oval that you could perceive them a lot in the peripheral vision, which is actually black and white. People aren't aware of that, but it actually is. That's why you can catch spirits so much in your peripheral. But I see this thing going by and I can track it a little and then start tracking it, and I see it attached to my coworker. What would be her crown chakra up here, and it elongates to about a root chakra. Yeah. It starts changing from this black to like a weird colored gray, and it's pulsing. And then she's bowling, and she's getting what you're about to call a turkey. She's knocking the heck out of those pins, and you tell something's going on. I said, "You all right?"
Yeah.
Barry, it's just the stinking thinking is getting to me, and I realized then this thing was pumping her emotions through negative thoughts and feeding on it.
What is that called? Loosh or something like that?
What's that? Well,
is that called loosh?
It reminded me of a remora, kind of how remoras attached to sharks. And and that's the real I was like, man, I don't want to see this at all. But I never saw any of these beings attaching to people that were kind of those loving, happy people.
Yeah. Well, and they'll attach when people are drunk or high on drugs too. And so very psychic people can sit and go into a bar and see black masses of energy like attaching to people that are really drunk. And they call it spirits for a reason, right?
Well, I'll tell you, without going too far into this, I've been doing a lot. I've been thrown out on Front Street for crossing over earthbound spirits. And the ones I do are entwined in the person's energy field itself, not just on the outside. So as a medium, I don't get information from them on the outside. They're not in that way. They're entwined in the energy field. All right. And a lot of them that attach to people, it is through, they have, first of all, what keeps the earthbound spirit here, the person, is addiction a lot of times.
Yeah.
And then they join with the person and start express that they live through negative behavior patterns. So this person they're joined with unknowingly is becoming alcoholic. Don't know why, but it's this earthbound spirit that's the same thing. Same addiction is now coming out in that person, ruining their life. That's where they have to be crossed over and try to separate. The amount of people that are carrying earthbound spirits due to that reason are not crossing over because of addiction. And that can be to food, people, drugs, alcohol. Alcohol is the worst. Before I started, this spirit had told me, and this is one of the ones I did way back or earlier on. It told me that it attached to this person at a bar, at the jukebox.
Yeah.
So, well, the other people in there are burned out, but this person wasn't. They were more bright, and they weren't having a very good time. They're kind of awkward socially. So I was gonna show them how to have more drinks, have another drink, And this individual, somebody that hung out at that bar, lived right across the street. Told the spirit tells me this through the client. Says, and I went over there as last call. I went over to do a couple rails. So I was coming back getting last call, and I collapsed in the street, had a heart attack, and died.
Wow.
But the thing was, the last thoughts were, that last drink.
Oh my gosh.
And I also know you're here to trick me. That's how am I trying to trick you? You're going to try to get me to go in that light. I'm not going in that light. I'm not going in that light.
Oh,
so why not? Because I can't get another drink there.
See, now I know why I acted so crazy when I was in my 20s and I lived next to a bar. It's because I probably had something attached to me and it was making me drink. Just kidding.
Well,
that's so bad.
Barry, that's so awesome.
I'm kidding. I take full responsibility for me being crazy, y'all. Everybody.
Yeah, we all take responsibilities, right? Hey, you're okay. You're in your 20s.
Yes. I've been saged since then. We're good.
Barry, I owned a bar for 13 years, right?
Oh, really?
And
wow.
I put out a show I did a ghost encounter maybe a couple weeks ago on my channel, Bigfoot Michigan Rob channel. You guys check that out. I saw a ghost all the time. I used to work and stay after hours at the bar till like 3 a.m, 4 before I went home. And one night I saw four ghosts at the corner of my bar having a drink. Now listen.
Whoa.
Wow.
I was doing paper.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, listen, I'm doing paperwork in my office and I hear the clanging of glasses, right? And I get up and I go, hey, is anybody here? Because sometimes it might have been an employee leaving late or didn't leave, or they're doing last minute cleanup, mop up. And no, I look in the bathroom. I look around, nobody in there. I make sure the doors, everything's locked. I go back to the office. Couple a little bit later, I hear clinking of glasses. And then
Whoa.
I go out. Now, mind you, when I went out, the bar was clear, nobody there. And I hear what sounded to be pouring of drinks. And I go out in the corner of the bar. I see 4 shot glasses. I see 2 wine glasses and 2 shot glasses, 1 shot glass, and there's a bottle of Jack Daniels sitting there. And one of the shot glasses
Wow.
was full. The other shot glass was half full. The 2 wine glasses, there's a bottle of wine sitting there, but not open and nothing in it. So you got 2 empty wine glasses with a bottle of wine. You got a bottle of Jack Daniels with a full shot glass and a half a shot glass. And then all of a sudden I'm looking and I see what appears to be 4 people from like the 1940s. They're dressed up in like the guys had those like those brim hats, and it looked like, remind me of like Derringer era. The women kind of had these frailly, I mean, yeah, I could see them, but transparently, I could see through them. I could see the other side of the bar, but I could definitely make out that they're from like a different time. And they look at me, and they kind of look at me. No, they didn't smile, grin. They didn't act scary. Then they just kind of look away, and I'm staring you guys like this. Then I see the one ghost, man, it goes to pick up the shot glass. But now I see the shot glass is just up. It comes up off. It comes off the bar. It's now in the air, and the hand is like you can see through the hand. Then all of a sudden, I go like this, and then the glass drops. It hits the top of my bar, shatters. The ghost disappear.
Wow.
I've
never heard that story, Rob. That's amazing.
That's some pretty strong spirits there. It's strong.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's funny, and I should make mention of this. When they disappeared, though, when they looked, they kind of seemed like they got older, and they just kind of smoked out, kind of like they just dropped. So I would always hear, now after I seen that, man, I'd always have some, I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but I'd always have somebody with me, because to try to experience something, or at least so I wasn't going crazy, because it didn't scare me, but it's very creepy. You know, it's just so like, even though it was a cool experience, it was different, very different.
You know, I what do you think about this? So I had a friend that he a high school friend, known each other forever. He opened up like a really popular smaller bar downtown. And it's kind of like, you know, cross between a college type of young people bar. But I had taken this accident, and I took all these brain injuries. Then I thought I'd leave. And he started coming to visit me like at home afterwards, like after that. And he would come to me and he'd say, "Littleton, I just have to watch you sometimes, man." That's what he told me. He said, "Well, sometimes you slip in and out of my bar like they did." So what do you mean they? He goes, you just disappear sometimes. And he said this, and this, where his bar was in a very old building in a downtown, you know, just old district. And he said there are these people. He said they're not really people, but they look like people, but they come into the bar and they just stand around. They don't interact with anyone. And then they're just gone. But every time I see these individuals, a fight or something bad breaks out in the bar. He said there's some type of beings or demonic demons or something that go around to these bars.
They're jumping into people and causing problems.
Stuff with them, and just when they show up, negative stuff happens. And he says they'll stand around the bar and then they'll just be gone. And he said, "You did that a few times. You were standing there, I turn around, you were just gone." Littleton does. That's me though. I slide out, you know. But that's this. It's very interesting to hear him say that before he sold that place, in terms of thinking about inorganic beings and those that can use our own cognitive dissonance to where they still look like people, you know. But that's not.
Yeah, you know, I tell you what, so being in the bar business for 13 years, I started getting a conscience, because one of the reasons I got, I sold my bar pre-COVID, and I didn't predict this would happen. I just lucked out when I sold it. And
it was your intuition.
It was just, yes, probably. Yeah. I imagine it was.
Switched on.
And prior to that too, though, I started feeling guilty though, because, which I had to go. I actually talked to someone about this, but it wasn't me, because people were dying. People were becoming alcoholics. I would see owning a bar for 13 years, you see marriages break up, you see people die because of liver cirrhosis, and here I am selling them
Mhm.
this stuff, but it's not. But hey, it's not. I'm there to provide a service, and if you need help, go seek help, right? So that's your choice, not mine. I'm just there. So I kind of, for a long time, felt guilty about contributing to people's demise in life, and I had a problem with that for a long time. But I'm not gonna. Hey, I got counseling for that, you guys. I really felt guilty, man. But today I don't feel that way. Thank goodness it wasn't my fault. But that was also one of the reasons why I had to get out of that, because there was, after a while, I could never have done that for the rest of my life, because it
Yeah.
does get depressing after a while. It really does.
Yeah. I can only imagine. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've gone from crop circles to remote viewing to Bigfoot, Sasquatch to ghost. My
Yeah,
goodness,
that's
we've covered the
great.
bases tonight, you guys.
By
We
the way, I
really
was
have.
thanks for the crop circle thing. I got an enormous amount of answers that I was needing out of that.
Yeah.
And I think that was really good. I mean, at the end of that, I was just flabbergasted. I had no more to say. You know what I mean? That's why I got quiet. It was really good. So thank you for that, for
Well,
viewing it like you did. Thank you.
you're welcome. You know what? Thank you for even suggesting it, because I actually got to tap into to divine energy tonight and today, and it was very special, and it that kind of stuff. Even Rob, when I first came on tonight before we went live, Rob was like,
Yeah.
"You're a little different tonight, Jessica." And yeah, I was a little drained from doing the targets today and stuff. I did a couple. I did at least one today, and it was that one, and it does take a little bit out of me, but it was also, it changes me. Even my mom today too said, your voice sounds a lot raspier today than normal. So it causes a physical change in my body when I do stuff like this. Sometimes when I tap into that kind of energy, it's not normal. It's not in my normal every day. So it was good, and I hope that, I feel like they were giving me a message to convey to humanity tonight, and I think that that's what they do with the crop circles, and it is that, don't give up, y'all. We're going through some hard times right now on our planet, and don't give up. And they're here. They're here to help us.
You know, when I had this car accident and I died, and I was in a coma for like 2.5 weeks after that, and it took about a month to remember who I was. And I saw these angelic forms, and I like what the Uranta book calls these type of angels real high, super nanofem. I think that's accurate. And when I say that, these were not people, okay? They weren't humans' bodies. These were like thousands of strains of light with these shields around them is what they look like to me. And there was so much love coming off these beings that a little bit more, I think, would have destroyed my body. We can't take it. I know they were.
Yeah.
And when I came back and remembered who I was, I could still see these beings in my mind's eye and feel them before I even remembered who I was. And went through something that's called a clearing out, when a brain injury survivor remembers everything and comes back. I was one of those people. So, but I could still see these beings in my mind's eye before that. Then, so when I'm my normal self, cognizant again, I spent a great deal of time not just analyzing my near-death experience itself, what's the last bit of oxygen, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
But also comparing these high angelic forms to some of the non-physical beings of extraterrestrial origin, I think, feel that I've dealt with. And some of them have so much love coming off of them. It's not quite the same, but I mean, they're going for the same thing when it deals with God and Christ consciousness, or awareness, we'll call it, and I say that in a non-religion way. Just like some of these earthbound spirits, when I'm communicating with them, I can see a portal open. I can see angelics here, but they can't. They're talking about the darkness. Then you start talking about the love of family and the love of the word no one wants to talk about, God. The love of God.
Right.
And suddenly they start seeing these things. They start seeing the angelics that were already there. It's so love and light are connected. I don't care what nobody said.
I agree.
Well, it's important that stuff like that is dealing with, because right now there's so many earthbound spirits, like the ones you just talked about, Rob,
Yeah.
that it's really scary here. As far as there's as
Yes.
many of them as there is living or more. And some of them I've crossed over now. I'm coming across ones that have hundreds and hundreds of years they've been down here, or thousands. Came across one told me, described from a distant land, and a journeyman that was describing the first Bolerio in Spain, getting murdered by one of those bulls, just going
Oh,
through
wow.
time. I was like,
Pretty old.
that's like 1780, 1790.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be trapped here, and you don't have the same passage of time quite like we do now. It's something else
Mhm.
going on. So who wants? No one. That's a type of hell. Or one of them might have said to me, "Don't talk about God." So why not? Well, because if there was a God, we wouldn't all be here almost bumping into each other, and you all wouldn't be ignoring us forever.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Jeez.
you think that hell would be us shoveling sulfur into an acid pit while there's a demon looks like a pig stabbing us with a pitchfork, behind us. But in reality, what that entity, that earthbound spirit was saying sounds a lot like hell to me.
Yeah, it does.
A thought. That's all. I don't want nobody throw no carrots or tomatoes at me. So
No, that's all. Oh man, I like
Alright.
that.
Oh my gosh. Well, guys, this has been an amazing night. And
Yeah.
I think that we, like I said, we've covered all the bases tonight. And Barry, thank you so much for coming on and being our special surprise guest tonight.
hey, thank
And
you for having me. I feel like I talked too much this time, but thank you for having me on this. This meant a lot to me, and I really got something from it. So thank you.
thank you.
Rob.
Well, I always
Yeah,
get
thank
something
you,
from
Barry.
you every time you come on the show
Yeah.
with me. Anytime I watch your shows, I get so much knowledge and insight on stuff that I know nothing about. I didn't know hardly anything about these orbs, and I just knew what my
Yeah.
data said, but you were able to explain it to us. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I know that
Yeah,
Rob,
Barry's
we
like,
both
just
appreciate it.
Yeah, no, because Jessica goes, "Hey, you want to do the show with me on Orbs?" I'm like, "Well, let me go turn on YouTube to find out what Just all kidding aside, I knew a little bit, but then she said Barry, because I seen you two together on another show. I think on SOR it was right, and was that what I'm talking
Barry is
about?
my
Yeah,
first
that was
guest.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great show, and I said, yeah, hell yeah, I'm gonna come on. Now I can learn something. So thank you, Barry, man. That was awesome.
Thank you. I also want to say I've just seen this chat over here for the first time. I pushed the comments button. Hey, thank you to all the audience people. Thank you. I appreciate you all. I'm sorry I
We
didn't
have
see
a
that.
great audience.
That's really
Yes.
nice.
Yeah, we
Thank
have great people.
We have one of the best chats in history. I love everybody that tuned in tonight. Thank y'all so much for being here. And after this show tonight at midnight Central Time, which is 1 a.m. my time over here on the East Coast, you guys have we have Tex doing a haunted house investigation, right, Rob? And he just sent us
Yeah, I
this
guess
picture a little while ago. He's at the Hell House.
Oh wow.
Is that what it's called? The Hell
Oh.
House?
Yeah,
That
I
place
think it is they're going live tonight, I think at midnight, one in the East, I think, right, Jessica?
It's 1
They're
o'clock in the
gonna talk
East.
to
Yeah. 1 o'clock
gonna
my
try to-
time over here. Midnight Central.
Yeah, well, I'm going to stay up for that. It is Friday. They're going to try to conjure up a demon, but now I'm going to be scared because I
Ooh.
just mentioned I hate watching those type of shows.
I don't know. Just keep the volume down. Keep the volume down. Don't play it too loud.
Yeah.
I know you got to be careful with that. Listen, we're all love and light over here. I've been tapping into divine energy. I don't need none of that, so I'm gonna have to mute it if I were to watch that tonight. So, but anyways, that's awesome. Everybody tune in to see Tex and the crew at the and Rocky's there and Ron from Odyssey Radio, and we broadcast our show on Odyssey Radio. So, big shout out to everybody. I think it's called the Hill House. I think that's where they're at.
Yeah, I think so. Haunted Hill House or something.
The Haunted Hill. Oh, Hill House. Oh, I was a little off there.
Yeah, I think so.
It's either the Hill House or the Hell House. I don't know.
Yeah, Nicholas
Okay.
brought it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody in Shax. I know I didn't say hi to no one because I couldn't type today. So, everybody, I love you. Thank you.
Yes. Well, okay. So everybody, y'all please tune in tomorrow night to Spaced Out Radio. I've got my shows this weekend at 10 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow night, I have Tyler Koala on my show, and we're going to talk about Journey to Truth. Well, he's with the Journey to Truth podcast. We're going to talk about his journey to truth, his cryptid experiences, and the secret space program. That's tomorrow night. And then Sunday night, I have D.A. Roberts, who is an author and a specialist on Dogman coming on. So we're going to talk Dogman and horror stories, like real life cryptid attacks, just like I talk about here on our show. So everybody, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Barry, thank you again. We will definitely have you back on. We'll be seeing you again soon. And
have
and
you
Rob,
on my show, Barry.
Hey,
yes, Brunch with Bigfoot. Brunch with Bigfoot. All right. Well, everybody have a great weekend, and we will see y'all next week. Bye, y'all.